Thanks. I'm Andrew Eades, as just mentioned. My Twitter tag is @AndrewEades, so it's easy to remember. I'm going to talk for about 30, 40 minutes. Depends how quickly and how the more nervous I am, the more quick I'll talk, probably. There you go. As I can't see anyone, I won't get nervous, right? So, first of all, a little bit about me. I founded Relentless Software nearly 10 years ago. But, you know, I guess I'm qualified to talk about video games because I've been living and breathing video games since I was a small boy. You know, I've been making games as a hobby for at least 30 years, been doing it professionally for at least 20 years. Does mean that what I understand about video games is pretty ingrained, and it's actually, I found it quite an interesting task to get that as an output in some kind of structured form. So we'll see how it went. But, you know, I own a company that's based in Brighton called Relentless. And we founded that in 2003, just down the road from here, actually. Is Arjo in the house? Sorry, show real time. I've got a little bit of video here which shows you a little bit about what Relentless has been making, and it will give you some context around what I'm going to talk about later. So there's some volume somewhere. Okay, so there you have it. There's games for everybody, and that kind of, when we founded the company in 2003, that was our vision. It was quite a novel idea at that time, because games were more regarded as quite geeky and quite hardcore and very niche. And but the idea of making games for everybody was really appealing to me, because I believe in my medium, and I believe it can entertain anyone really. And I think today no one would argue with the fact that most people who've got a smartphone have probably played a game. So it was interestingly, I guess it put us on a collision course with TV in some ways. So some of the stuff I'll talk about is how TV has influenced what we've been making for the last 10 years. We made Buzz. I can't see. Has anyone heard of Buzz? Okay, enough people. We made some other games too, but probably haven't heard of those, although Murder Files is one of those. And I'm really proud of winning a BAFTA in 2006. At some point I'm going to have to win another award, so I don't have to keep talking about 7 years ago. But again, that's important. This is a TV, what is more commonly known as a TV award. Obviously they've got into video games because they saw video games as an important medium. They didn't change the name of BAFTA to BAFTA or whatever, but it's very much an equal partner here with film and television now at the BAFTA. So I think we made progress there. So onto the subject of this presentation. Designing games for TV, and I couldn't fit in ConnectedTV so I've shortened it. But you know, I'm not going to present some kind of magic formula here because I couldn't think of what it is. But I've got 3 ideas that are nice and interesting to discuss. So I'm going to go through. I've called them laws. They're not quite laws, but you'll see why. And then, you know, I'd like, you know, hopefully that will trigger off some ideas for questions later on. And we'll see. So we go into the 3 laws. The 3 laws I'm going to talk about are Moore's law. Anyone know what that is? Yes. Meyer's law? Anyone? No. And then I've kind of messed around with it. Gamer law, using a different spelling of law with a completely different meaning. But those are the 3 things I'm going to talk about and how I approach video game design in the context of these. Now, if you came to the presentation I did last year, you'll recognise some of the ideas about Moore's law, but I do think it's really important, so I am going to say it again. Moore's law, for those of you who don't know it, is a law that Gordon Moore, who founded Intel, stated. And it's about the number of transistors, very geeky, number of transistors you can fit onto a silicon chip. And he said it's roughly going to double every year. Now, that really is a power curve, you know, if you can see, you know, the normal exponential curve of these things. But that means that's why computers get more powerful every year. It's not because of any, you know, that's the main reason. You can fit more chips on, you know, more transistors onto a chip, which makes them faster and have more memory. And this is really important when you're talking about building games for a category of devices that is in evolution, which is what connected TVs are. It's interesting if you compare it to console, which I'm much more used to. Console goes in a step because what we do with consoles is we fix the processing power and the memory bandwidth of console every 5 years or 10 years or whatever it is. We're about to have a new console generation kick off this Christmas, where Sony and Microsoft are launching their new mega consoles. And actually, they're trying to, you know, normally you fix, I think the PS3 was launched in 2006, and that's the same specification machine you can buy now, which means they've kind of flattened out Moore's law, and then it goes up in a massive spike. That's completely different to the way smartphones and TVs work, because every year there's a new model of Samsung TV which outdates the last year's model. So this is why I think it's quite important to connected TV. Also, it's interesting, as a kind of slight tangent, you know, Xbox are using cloud compute to kind of subvert Moore's law in terms, well, actually apply Moore's law to console by then offloading a load of calculation and memory to the cloud, which can evolve along the Moore's law power curve. So this is how I like to think about it. Is this is the original advertisement for the iPod, and this is genius because this is Apple's marketing genius in a nutshell, really. You know, before this, you would buy something and it might have some kilobytes, gigabytes, megabytes. I don't even know what a gigabyte is anymore. I mean, what can you put into a gigabyte? I'm not really sure. So Apple very cleverly said, who cares how many gigabytes or megabytes this device has? It will keep 1,000 songs. And everyone bought into that, and they revolutionised the entire music industry. So, as I say, I was thinking how can I use that kind of easy to understand motif. So this is what I started with. It's a ZX81 designed by Sir Clive Sinclair. It stores 10 seconds of music. That's its total memory. It's one ringtone's worth of memory. And within that computer, you've got your video. There's no separate video memory. That's it. That's all you've got. Within that, you can still make a game. You know, we're not bound by technology. If we can make a game in a ZX81, we can do it in anything. And the interesting thing for me is that, you know, actually, the screen, it was like 40 characters by 25 or something. If you put a character in every single position in the screen, you ran out of memory. You couldn't actually fill the screen with characters because it had so little memory. But we still had to fill the screen, you know, we still had to put enough in the screen and the program in the same amount of memory with that. That's how I started back in 1981. And I made this, so I was following this thought through. I worked out how, the computers I've made games for in the past, and if you can't see it, it doesn't really matter if you can't read it. You start off with the ZX81, and by 1987 I've got an Amiga 500. It's got 500K, that's 500 times more powerful than a ZX81. And then, by 1994 we've got a PlayStation which comes with 2 meg. It's 2,000 times more powerful than a ZX81. And by the end of this year we got a PS4 which is 8 million times more powerful than a ZX81, the first machine I wrote a piece of code for. But numbers are hard to digest in this form, so I drew a graph, and if you remember I was talking about this power curve, so you're expecting to see a curve going up. Well, this is what you see. Nothing happened until 2006. You might as well have had the ZX81, really. If you look back from a longer distance in time, we haven't even started. And it's interesting that this year we're launching the PlayStation 3, and it's so much more powerful than what came before. It's absolutely mind-bending. But the reason this is interesting, and the reason this has got the context of being interesting in terms of connected TV, is imagine if, I've got. We're about 10 years. I estimate that TV, the technology within a TV, like the memory and everything else, is about 10 years behind console right now. So we can look back in time. We can use that graph, and we can go back. So if we were launching a PS2 today, we could predict in 2015 how powerful PS3 is, because we already know, because we've got that graph from before. And we know how powerful PS4 is going to be in 2020. But these aren't really PSs, these are actually TVs. So replace the PS2 with a Samsung, whatever it is. Next year's Samsung will be PS3, and then in 2020 we're talking awesome power here. And these are already the PS3 is a really powerful machine, so I wouldn't mind having a TV that's as powerful as PC, PS3 in a couple of years' time. And this is going to happen because it's inevitable, because Moore's law dictates that will happen. And I can guarantee you that every time you put this much power into any kind of device, games programmers will make a game for it. Doesn't matter what it is, it could be a toaster. Give us something with a chip in it, and we'll turn it into a gaming device. So I believe that TV is on this trajectory that makes it really interesting for people like me who make video games. I also think that connected TVs are an endangered species, because you've got things like Apple TV. I use this Apple TV, but it could be an Amazon TV if you've read the internet rumours. And Google just launched Chromecast, which is a $35 unit that you stick into the back of your HD TV. And essentially all these devices are sub $100 devices that turn your whatever TV you've got into a properly connected TV with a proper user experience, with like a store and all the things that you need to actually make something sensible. Because unfortunately, I'd love to be here singing, who's from Samsung? I'd love to be here singing the praises of Samsung and saying they've nailed it, but they haven't. You need to have a distribution, an app, a platform where you can distribute and monetize apps and games and whatever you want. Now, the Apple TV, I'm a big fan of. I've got one in my house. I watch Netflix via that all the time. I rent films that aren't on Netflix occasionally. But that's the thing that's almost like input one, as Microsoft would like to have with their Xbox. That's the most important thing attached to my TV at the moment. That converts my already smart, connected TV into really connected TV. And to me, this is another area where the power of these are all powered by mobile technology developed for smartphones. And that kind of power is going on the curve, and it's probably going to accelerate that curve that I've already discussed. So the conclusion from this part, see how I'm doing, am I rushing? Is that, we can use that power curve from Moore's law to look back. You can look back in time to look forward in time, depending on the device category you're looking at. I think that's a really good use of Moore's law. the connected to the TV device will accelerate that curve faster than the TV manufacturers can do it, until they start to embed those units. And you know, we're all expecting Apple to do something one day. Who knows? And you know, don't make, well, it depends what you want to do, but I wouldn't make the mistake of designing for the TV of today, because you want to get ahead of the curve a bit, because tomorrow's TV is going to be so much more powerful. So that's that bit. Just take a sip of water. So the second law is Meyer's law, and it says it's a simple task to make things complex, but complex to make things simple. It's pretty obvious, really, but again, this is when you're talking about making games for a TV audience, this becomes really important. And I've got one example, but it's kind of, you know, it's an illustration of what this, how you apply this to game design for a TV audience, because there are different, you know, the TV watching audience is a different kind of person to a gamer. And this is what gamepad. Does anyone know what this is? No. It's the Discovery Shuttle, but this is what my mum thinks a gamepad is. This is a scare. You know, I'd be fascinated but terrified to be sitting in there and not knowing what, you know, which button would kill me or whatever. And that's what my mum thinks about a gamepad. You know, this is another, what I call normal person's point of view when you talk to them about a DualShock controller or any other kind of weird controller. And I think it's really important to try and put yourself into the position of the person that's going to be playing your game, and understanding that they don't like this. This kind of thing is frightening. And this could be a menu system or controller. I'm just using controllers as a good example. Nintendo made an incredible breakthrough with the Wii. They, you know, it was pretty much the most popular console last gen. And what they did is they hid the controller in this kind of remote control-looking device. It was genius. They've done it so well. They've made it all white, so you can't see how many buttons it's got. And they made it all friendly. They've made it shape a bit like a candy bar shape of remote control, but and they've got this kind of very easy waggle input as well. So lots and lots of people who wouldn't normally play or even buy video games content went and bought the Wii because it didn't have that kind of frightening, this is a hardcore game kind of feel to it. It was really simple. But, you know, actually it's not. I mean, it's quite a complicated game device, and I've never seen anyone operate a television with two hands like that. So I think it very quickly becomes, you know, it was a good sell, but I think the reality of using it was different in many aspects of it. And actually, I counted the number of buttons that Nintendo have hidden on this so-called simple device, and it's got more buttons than the scary black DualShock. But my mum will pick this one up, but she will never touch that. And if she does, it will be upside down. You know, it's and yeah, and I won a bet with someone at work when I bet them that had less buttons than the Wiimote, and because it does. So TVs have this abortion of a remote control. You know, we've all got horrible stacks of unusable controllers. You know, if you're smart, you've got one. You know, you've accumulated everything into some universal control, which still has a billion different buttons. You know, one of the reasons I like my Apple TV is it's got a very simple controller. Both of these things have huge challenges when you're making video games, because you don't know you don't really know what the user's got in their hands, and they are awkward. I mean, this is very simplistic, and you probably only ever press that many different buttons on your big remote with 100 different buttons. So they've kind of simplified it, but they might have oversimplified it, because to navigate menus with this is quite difficult. You have to keep going down, 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 and then back out and out and out. So there's a huge user experience issue when you're using a device like this. But you have to expect that the user will have some weird controller device that you're not perfect for your game, but you're going to have to work with it. When we made Buzz, we actually designed our own controllers. I don't know if everyone can see that, but the controller was really simple. It had 4 coloured buttons on it, and you pressed whichever coloured button we had like displayed the answers on the screen, and if the answer was the blue answer, you pressed the blue button, and if it's a yellow answer, you press the yellow button. You can't get simpler than that. We arranged the buttons horizontally so they matched the way we arranged them on the screen. It's one of the simplest interfaces we could get away with. Maybe, we may have missed out a couple of buttons, but I think the simplicity of that controller design, and we were in a privileged position that we were allowed to create our own controllers for our game, meant that game was approachable to anyone. Anyone can play Buzz. It's instantly recognisable what you have to do. There's no instruction manual required. You just get it. And that was really important because when we designed Buzz, we wanted people to be able to pick it up, know exactly what they were doing without anyone ever telling them how to play. I think I'm rushing. So here's another way of doing it. Then we worked with Microsoft for a while on a game called Nat Geo TV, which is actually not really a game, it's interactive TV. And the idea of this is like the Kinect device is a controller that doesn't have any controls. It tracks your body motions, and it has voice-activated controls as well. And the point of this was we were trying to blend, we were taking a TV show, which was a natural history documentary, which we had made by Casey, who's the star of this. You'll see Casey in a second. And he's got a pet bear called Brutus. And what we were doing is we were experimenting with how you turn a TV program into an interactive TV program. And this is kind of what we did.
I'm Casey Anderson.
So you can get that on Xbox 360. It requires a Kinect camera, but again, that's like a whole season of natural history. Nat Geo is like and Casey is like the Steve Irwin or David Attenborough of Nat Geo in the States. So he's big. He's a big cheese, and we built this and we filmed new footage, and we had interactive elements in the game, and this was absolutely designed with like a kind of halfway between a game and a TV show. It was a very interesting, challenging project to be on, and I think we did some really good work there, and we nailed it in the end. And the way we started, we had to I think 6 months in, we all decided that it was not going to work out, so we changed the whole tack of the game. And we started off making a game with a TV show inside it, and what we did was we flipped that inside out. We made a TV show with a game inside it, and that's how it worked. It was a really interesting experiment. So, to conclude that part, controllers are headaches. It's the good thing about console is the controller. That's part of the whole proposition. So, I think there's a number of different ways of getting past the controller problem, but it's going to remain a headache for a while. And the other thing is like simplicity is what you want. You don't want to have the cockpit of the Discovery Space Shuttle if you're making a game for a TV audience that's used to sitting back and watching television. If you think about the viewer experience from the amount of interaction between pressing play or choosing a channel to playing Call of Duty and pressing buttons hundreds of times a second to play Call of Duty, this is like you want to be way down towards the just press play and watch a film for 2 hours. That's the amount of interactivity you've got to go for. And it's very hard for a game designer to understand that the audience doesn't want to interact that frequently with your game. So on to the last bit, which is game of lore. So it's different lore, but does anyone know this? Yeah, it's obviously it's Super Mario. Now, whenever I don't know what Miyamoto was on when he decided that smashing a block with your head should produce a coin from the block, but that's what happens in all the Mario games. But also, you know, but this is now every child, everyone who's ever played a Mario game knows exactly what to do when they see a question mark. You have to pound it with your head, and coins will come out. But this is like this is what I call gamer lore. This is like every game has got crates in it. Does anyone know this one? Yeah, good. Portal, yes. So this is Portal. So this is a more modern game, but guess what? You know, the block's rendered in 3D, but if you get it, there's good stuff in it, and that's the whole point. A block or a crate is in pretty much, you know, nearly every game in the world, probably. And what it is like it's a shortcut now. You know, in a game, when you're designing games, you put a crate in, the user knows, smash the crate, something's good inside. And that's, you know, sometimes occasionally the game designer might play with you and put something bad inside, but that's, he can only do that because the learnt behaviour is smash the crate, there's good stuff inside, it's got health, bullets, whatever you want. And this is part of the language of video games. And it's really hard, if you've been playing and making video games for 30 years, to realise that like a TV viewer might not understand what a crate is for, you know? And all games have got like crates and barrels and mushrooms, you know, take a mushroom and something or transform. I wonder where Miyamoto got that idea from. And, you know, there'll be barrels and, you know, barrels tend to explode. Of course they do, yeah, you know. And these are things that we know about, the things that the level designers put into their environments that they're putting us into. That as a gamer you know, and it's a shortcut to understanding the world that you're presented. TV viewers don't know about this, unless they're gamers as well. But, you know, I'm kind of talking about my mum, who hasn't played Portal, and she hasn't played Mario either. This is so good. There's even a website where you can look at all the different screenshots of all the games with all the crates and barrels, and someone's collecting screenshots of all the crates and barrels in all the games in the world. And it's great. I spent ages digging through that. And I had to stop myself because the entire presentation was going to be just crates. So I stopped at 2. But the point is, this is what gamer lore is. So for Buzz, the way we approached Buzz is we could have made, you know, we wanted to make a quiz game. We could have made Trivial Pursuit and stuck it on the screen like a board game. We could have gone any different numbers of different ways. But we wanted it to be a game that anyone could play, you know, instantly without having to read the rule book. And the way we decided to do that was this is Buzz, so I'll show you Buzz and then I'll talk about it. But so if you've seen Buzz, you know what it is. But if you've never seen it, that's what it is. So we set it in a game show, and that was in a way that gives you everything you need to know, and you get all your language then from a TV game show, and we all know, who should I ask who has seen a game show on TV? Yeah, everyone probably. That's the point, Not everyone's played Mario, but you've all watched a TV game show. You know exactly what to expect, and that's what we played with when we created the Crazy Buzz host, and he had a whole backstory and stuff, and it even had a hostess, and you know what to do, and presented with the buzzers. You've got it's very, very quick to understand, and you can connect to your audience almost instantly. We all know the rules. That's the point. You don't have to explain. Gamers love being put into new worlds with new rules to learn, and they learn, and that's what a gamer wants to find. He wants to be confused, he wants to have this sense of wonderment when you show them new stuff and you subvert the last game they played. But there's been a history of games that they understand, so they know what you're doing. Whereas if you're making a game for someone who hasn't played games, who watches TV more, they don't have all that history of gamer lore. But they do know what TV is. So when we set up the company and we designed Buzz, we decided that TV was going to be our touch point for how we design games. How we use the language of TV. So these are, you can probably write this down yourselves now, So it's the quiz, the important parts of the quiz show, some of them, this isn't all of them. It's got contestants, it has buzzers, it's got scores, it's got rounds, it's got a host. These were really important things that we decided you needed to have. If you were going to make a quiz game, those are the things you needed to have, and that's how we went about designing Buzz. Now, Murder Files, which has kindly been mentioned before. Murder Files was started when I tried to figure out, because Buzz was so successful. I mean, it was Sony's biggest selling game in Europe in 2005, and 5 minutes, oh God, all right. And we won a BAFTA for it in 2006, so Buzz was so successful, it was well, what's our difficult second album? It was really, I didn't know what to make, so I found myself in Argos one day, looking through the catalogue, and I looked at the board game section, and I noticed that it was Trivial Pursuit's 25th anniversary. And that was the first lightning bolt. It was 25 years. People have been playing Trivial Pursuit, the board game, for 25 years, and I make quiz games. And I remember playing Trivial Pursuit when it first came out. I wonder what's next to Trivial Pursuit in this catalogue. And it was Cluedo and Monopoly, of course. And you kind of go, well, okay, what can I learn from this? And it's so I went back to my studio and said, look, if a game is in, I took the catalogue back to them. So if a game is on here, on this page, then we should think about making it. And the other qualification for we should definitely make it is there a big TV genre around this? And of course, murder mystery, there is. I mean, people watch murder mysteries all the time. As I'm running out of time, I shall move to the next slide. So we designed an episodic murder mystery game set in a quaint English village where obviously all sorts of dastardly deeds happen. You've got a whodunit at the end of every episode. You're engaged in it. It's very linear, very narrative based. And you watch this episode, and there's some observation stuff, and there's puzzles throughout to play. And that's Murder Files. The touch points we used to design this is, what do you all know about watching a murder mystery? Well, there's witnesses, probably, alibis. There's definitely a whodunit. And the other main thing we looked at was hour-long episodes. So we tried to make it like a TV viewing, appointment to watch this for an hour kind of experience, rather than the 40-hour epic of a, Call of Duty game. And I think I've got video.
The quaintest, quietest, and quite categorically safest village in the whole of...
Who shot the mayor? He was an idiot.
I hated him.
He was good looking.
Pity he was such a...
Hannah Dakota may look innocent, but is a suppressed tiger. Rawr. Richard Dick Dickens, blessed with a big brain. Lucky boy. Miss Marjorie Maple may appear helpless, but has more than a few boiled sweets in that old bag of hers. Lambert van der Bosch, who knows what he can frisk up or down with that moustache of his. Become the next detective extraordinaire in Murder Files.
So that's Murder Files. That's recently been #1 on the iPad store and #2 on the Kindle Fire store, and is coming to new platforms as we speak. A big announcement tomorrow about one of them. So you know, this is like I think I've got conclusion. You know, this is what I feel about designing games for a TV audience. Is that, you know, you have to forget about what gamers know, because your audience doesn't know the same stuff. And you have to look really closely at TV shows and really work out what the lingua franca of the genre you're targeting is, and use that, and always hold up the TV show experience to your game and say, does that make sense? As a, you know, will someone who's only ever watched TV understand what I'm trying to do here? And those are the three conclusions I came to. Again, you know, it's not a tech problem. You know, connected TVs might not be the most powerful devices right now, but tomorrow they will be. And I think I'm repeating that as well. Controllers are the biggest worry for me in TV at the moment. And that's it.